I'd like to play some more footage from the presentation at the museum where Susan talks about her father's work, where he photographed the prominent entertainers of that time.
In the year's course at the New York Institute of Photography, which included courses in portraiture, studio photography, commercial, sports photography, and even a course in motion picture photography, he had an opportunity to be around and about New York City and an opportunity to meet African Americans in all walks of life, but he especially gravitated to entertainment stars. And of course, that was more interesting. Not only that, but he was working part-time for an African American pictorial magazine similar to Life magazine and Look magazine, which was started up in 1937, about the same time he went to New York. And of course, because he was not only an assignment photographer for the magazine, but he was actually a part-time assistant business manager for promoting the magazine in New York City. And of course, he wanted to take photos of what people were interested in, which included the wonderful Savoy Ballroom, which was started in 1926 as an imitation of an uptown ballroom that one of the entrepreneurs began, and impresarios. And he began this Savoy Ballroom as not restricted. It was an integrated ballroom for both black and white people to come to. And of course, it became very famous for African American dancing. And of course, African Americans were very happy to be at such a venue because even in New York, there were restrictions on where black people could go and be entertained. This is one of the images of one of the dancers at the Savoy Ballroom. And this image was taken, as this one was in 1937, kind of at the height of the Savoy Ballroom's popularity and fame. This image is shows one of the variations on the Lindy Hop, which was invented by one of the best dancers. Actually, he was one of the first dancers that started the dance contests at the Savoy Ballroom in 1927, which was the time that Charles Lindbergh flew across the Atlantic to Paris. And he was asked, well, what's the name of that dance? And he couldn't think of anything, so he said, oh, it's the Lindy Hop. That's one of the stories. There are many stories on how Shorty George, his nickname, invented the Lindy Hop. This is not Shorty George, but in looking, it's very hard to find images of Shorty George, and unfortunately my father was not able to get Shorty George on camera. But Shorty went on to do many variations of the Lindy Hop. This one was called jibing, and it was kind of with a finger point. And there was also another variation, which you'll see an image of, called pecking. And pecking is as what it says, like a chicken pecking. And that was invented by the chocolatiers, who, as I said, you'll see an image of a bit later. The Lindy Hop is one of the basic American dances. It was perfected at the Savoy Ballroom, and the dance is a couple's dance, a touching dance, but it also gives the dancer, or did give the dancer, numerous opportunities to break away from the partner, twirl. There were acrobatics involved where the woman would jump over the shoulders or be lifted over the shoulders of her partner. And it was a dance that was documented in very many Hollywood films of the era. You know the Lindy Hop, I'm sure. This is an image of Tommy Dorsey and the Chocolatiers, which I just mentioned. The Chocolatiers was a group of three guys, and they were Eddie West, Paul Black, and Albert Gibson. Here are their pecking and jiving, and the peck was, as I say, it was a dance where you would peck like a chicken. There's a very famous, or very interesting and famous, image of pecking. If you would go on YouTube, you will find a long section made for a film with these guys doing this pecking dance, and and originates kind of in a barnyard, so that they could kind of explain why they were imitating a chicken pecking. But this dance kind of came quickly and went in 1937. And you see also here Tommy Dorsey, who, as you know, had a famous, or you may not know, had a famous brother also, Jimmy Dorsey, and they had an orchestra. Tommy Dorsey played the trombone, but he was a kind of a really eager to make his name kind of person, and he thought the Chocolatiers were just what he needed to promote a new dance craze. It was sort of like the 60s. If you were born then, there was a dance craze every month, and this is certainly no different. Interesting image. I've debated for a long time whether or not I would actually use this image of the Chocolatiers. My father took several images of the Chocolatiers in various antics. And unfortunately, I think some would find some of what they did a little minstrelly. And it's not a very popular way of expressing African American pride now, these days. They're sort of dated as to what they did, but they're still worthy of being recognized for their creativity and in this inventing a new, or making prominent a new dance style. We talked a little bit about the Savoy Ballroom and the many great dancing innovations that came out of the Savoy. This image has always been entitled Jitterbug Dancers at the Savoy Ballroom 1937. And this came out of the same series as the Jive dancers. And this image, I cannot identify it, but it very may well be the famous Shorty George, which was given homage to by Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers in a motion picture much later. And I think they did a dance called the Shorty George. And as I said, Shorty George was the preeminent dancer at the Savoy. And there were teams of dancers that did competitions and exhibitions in order to promote the wonderful dancing at the Savoy Ballroom. The owners, the promoters, the impresarios of the Savoy Ballroom were drawing people in to their two bandstands to see the famous dancers and to enjoy the ambiance of the Savoy Ballroom, which had peach-colored walls and had it was a block long. Can you imagine? A block long on 135th Street in Harlem. This place everybody knows about, and everybody wanted to be there.
Father's photos beautifully capture a moment in time. Can you talk a little bit about how unique the Savoy was?
Yes, Brandy, the Savoy was a fabulous place. And it was unique because it was the first time that African American dancers and white dancers could be side by side, and there was great respect for all dancers who could dance. And some of the recollections about this period say that the young white dancers, and this was college kids and high school kids for the most part, could come together and learn from each other. And sometimes, you know, the black dancers would say, "Oh man, you know, these guys are really terrific." The dances were fantastic because they were so energetic and even athletic, where you would be able to throw your partner across the room, or have your partner, and this was the woman generally that did this, leap over the back of the male dancer. And so it was just a fantastic time where, as I say, dancing ruled and not race.
That's wonderful. So I take it that many of the other ballrooms were...
Yes, people don't realize that even New York City was very segregated at this time. It was a scandal. It would be a scandal for Benny Goodman, who was the king of swing, to have an integrated band. What he did, he would have small groups of musicians kind of black and white jam together, but they wouldn't be in his dancing orchestra. So it was slowly becoming more comfortable for whites to be in this integrated culture, but it didn't happen right away, and it didn't really happen for a very long time.
And I guess places like the Savoy were very instrumental in helping that happen.
I think so. I think so, because it showed the merit of what you did as a dancer, as a musician, ruled again, and not the color of your skin.
It's wonderful that your family is helping to preserve these memories. Thank you so much for being with us and sharing your father's work and stories about the Savoy and the Harlem Renaissance.
Well, thank you, Brandy. It's my pleasure. And what's really maybe interesting to you is that there was a hotel in St. Mary's County near Colton Point.
Golden Hotel?
The Golden Hotel,
Yes,
which
yeah.
was a St. Mary's County hotel where Washingtonians would come down, and they had a ballroom where I'm sure a lot of the swing music was played, and patrons from the county and from Washington enjoyed this music.
That's amazing.
Together.
So, well, thank you again, and thank you for watching the Leonardtown Arts and Entertainment Spotlight on Robert H. McNeil.